Watch how Robert Jenrick launches a blistering attack on Ed Miliband over Labour's controversial solar farm expansion plans. As concerns grow over soaring energy bills, disappearing farmland and the future of rural Britain, this fiery Commons clash exposes a growing political battle over who really pays the price. Before we continue, hit like and subscribe to Britain Daily for more explosive political coverage. Let's watch this explosive clip.
Speaker, with your permission, I'd like to answer 6 and 12 together. The two renewables auctions under this government have secured power for the equivalent of 23 million homes, and we're embarked upon the biggest nuclear building programme for 50 years. But the war in Iran shows we need to go further and faster, so we'll open our next renewables auction next month and have recently signed contracts for a fleet of Rolls-Royce SMRs. Clean power is already reducing wholesale electricity prices by up to a quarter, and these steps will do more to protect families and businesses across our country.
Mr. Speaker, I know that for my Slough constituents, the crisis in Iran and the naval blockade have had a profound impact on household budgets. But we've also been left vulnerable by previous Conservative-led governments, which for over a decade ran down our own energy system, leaving us on the fossil fuel roller coaster and susceptible to global fluctuation. So, Secretary of State, unlike the previous Tory predecessors, who actually failed to invest in and didn't provide for our constituents, what measures is the government taking to invest in cheap, clean, homegrown energy so that my Slough constituents and others across the country can be protected from these spikes in the cost of living?
Well, my honourable friend is absolutely right about this, and the central fact that we can't get away from, Mr. Speaker, is that we are price takers, not price makers, when it comes to oil and gas. That is the fundamental kind of contradiction at the heart of where the opposition is. Just to answer him about what we are going to do, we are going to drive further and faster on clean power, including electrification across the economy. It's already the case, indeed, that customers are being better protected as a result of the renewables we have on our system, but we've got to go further and faster.
Speaker, the US-Israel war has pushed up prices for my constituents and is yet more evidence that we need to be energy self-sufficient around clean power. So can I greatly welcome the £2.6 billion investment for Rolls-Royce for small modular reactors. Great news for my constituents, but also those in Derby and the wider region. And also to help with Britain's energy security. Can he say more about how GB Energy will invest in projects like this?
Well, my honourable friend is absolutely right about this, and I was very pleased to sign in the last few weeks contracts with Rolls-Royce on this. This is a massive innovation, not just for Britain but for the world. We are world leaders when it comes to small modular reactors, and what's really important is not just, Mr. Speaker, the jobs in constructing these SMRs, but the jobs in the supply chain too. And I look forward to working with my honourable friend and indeed members across the House on making sure their constituents benefit from these good, well-paid jobs.
John Milne. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To get the best out of intermittent energy producers like wind and solar, we need to invest in battery energy storage systems. However, these place new safety challenges. The National Fire Chiefs Council recently issued guidance, but understandably, this concentrates on firefighting techniques rather than design. The Minister has kindly met with me in the past. Will you agree to a further meeting to specifically address the unmet need in national construction standards?
Well, the Honourable Gentleman raises an important point, and I know that my Honourable friend, the Energy Minister, has met him and indeed the National Fire Chiefs on this issue. We take safety of battery technology incredibly seriously, and I'm sure my Honourable friend will be happy to meet him again for further discussions.
Robert Jenrick. Government says that less than 1% of the countryside will be covered in solar farms. But if the 7,000-acre Great North Road scheme, which is now before the Secretary of State, the 2,000-acre Steeple scheme that is now before the Secretary of State, and the 4,000-acre One Earth scheme, which is shortly before the Secretary of State, all get approved, almost 10% of the landmass of my constituency, one of the most rural and largest in England, will be covered in solar farms. Good quality agricultural land in Nottinghamshire and Lincolnshire lost. How on earth is this fair to local communities?
For reasons he'll understand, I'm not going to comment on individual planning decisions. But what I do, because they have to go through the proper process. But what I do say to him is that solar is the cheapest, cleanest form of power that we have. Now, look, we can decide to bury our heads in the sand. We can decide to stay on the fossil fuel roller coaster, but the people who will pay for it are his constituents because they're paying for it now in higher energy bills. This side is going to keep going with the drive for clean power.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number 7, please.
Minister, Thank you, Mr Speaker, and with your permission, I'll answer questions 7, 8 and 11 together. Mr Speaker, we recognise the latest price cap announcement will be deeply concerning for households, many of whom were already struggling before the Iran crisis hit. That's why the Government has already taken action. We've taken £150 of costs off energy bills, extended the warm home discount to nearly 6 million families and provided over £50 million of immediate support for vulnerable customers who use heating oil. And we will, of course, continue to monitor the situation closely ahead of winter and stand ready to take action.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Minister for his answer. The energy price cap increase is estimated to cost each household an extra £18 every month. That is the price of a regular essential food shop at a discount supermarket. Now, I note the measures the Minister says the Government is taking, but in addition, will the Government urgently bring forward a social tariff for vulnerable low-income households?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The honourable member makes an important point, and obviously from the Government's point of view, we do not want anyone to be making the choice between heating and eating, and that's why across Government we are working on a data sprint to work out how we can use household income data to make sure that we are targeting support at the right people.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The typical annual dual fuel bill is 40% higher today in real terms than it was in 2021, and after accounting for inflation, that is £511 more per household. The bad news doesn't stop there, with Ofgem announcing that this crisis is going to get worse with a 13% increase to the energy price cap. Now, my constituents of Leicester South were already suffering. Labour promised to fix that, but the cost of living is just getting worse. Now, when the Minister says the only way to protect our country is through clean, home-grown power, what is he therefore doing to decouple the bills from gas prices, and when will my constituents of Leicester South feel it?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. His constituents in Leicester will benefit from the decisions that we've already made. Those decisions take £150 off of energy costs, the decision to extend the warm home discount and the warm homes plan, £15 billion of support. But I would say to him that we are delinking, we are taking that action already. The Secretary of State made announcements on that last month, and I would point him towards Ofgem, who pointed out that while last week wholesale gas prices in the price cap went up by 24%, electricity went up by 5%. And as they said, and I quote, "This reflects the increase in the amount of renewable generation on the system and therefore reduced reliance on gas."
Thank
you, Mr Speaker. 3,199 households in my constituency currently experience fuel poverty due to high energy costs, and costs linked to the Government's clean energy agenda could mean household bills are set to rise by at least £100 in the next 4 years. How long will hard-working families in South West Hertfordshire have to pay the price for Labour's ideological dash away from domestic energy production until they have a credible plan to fill the gaps in their energy policy?
Mr Speaker, this is coming from a member of a party that learned no lessons from the last energy crisis. We will not make those same mistakes, which is why we are investing in clean power by 2030, which will drive down bills. And only today we've also seen the jobs benefit from the investment in clean energy, supporting 1.1 million jobs, 22,000 small businesses and £105 billion for our economy.
I welcome the Government measures to support domestic consumers of kerosene heating oil. I'm told that those eligible, if they fill their tanks today, would be paying the equivalent of what they'll be paying in February 27. But in my Nahill constituency, we also have big commercial users of kerosene oil, distilleries, seaweed manufacturing, tourism industries and chemical plants as well. What measures is the Government and the Department taking to support commercial users of kerosene oil?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I pay tribute to my honourable friend for all the work that he's doing to advocate for his constituents in the Highland and Year, and I was pleased to visit him recently to see the impact that the increases in heating oil was having on his constituents. We are looking closely at the non-domestic heating oil market and will come forward with more proposals in due course.
What a remarkable confrontation in the House of Commons. Robert Jenrick's intervention struck at an issue that is becoming increasingly important to communities across rural Britain. While politicians often debate energy policy in terms of targets, emissions and investment, many local residents see something far more immediate: the potential loss of productive farmland and dramatic changes to the countryside around them. Jenrick's warning was stark. He argued that if current proposals are approved, nearly 10% of his constituency could be covered by solar developments, leading to the loss of valuable agricultural land. For farmers, rural businesses and local communities, those concerns are deeply personal. At the same time, Ed Miliband defended Labour's approach, insisting that renewable energy is essential if Britain is to break free from volatile global energy markets and reduce long-term costs for households. His argument was simple. Without greater investment in clean energy, families will remain exposed to future price shocks. This is why today's debate resonated far beyond Westminster. It touched on two issues that affect millions of people: the cost of living and the future of Britain's countryside. For families struggling with energy bills, cheaper power sounds attractive. For farming communities worried about losing productive land, the trade-offs feel very real. The challenge for any government is finding a balance between energy security, food security, economic growth, and environmental goals. As this debate showed, that balance remains fiercely contested. What do you think? Is Labour protecting Britain's future with clean energy investment, or are communities right to fear the loss of good quality farmland? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this coverage, hit like, subscribe to Britain Daily, and turn on notifications for more explosive Commons debates, PMQs clashes, and breaking political news from Westminster.